tropical travel tips. Now, I've traveled most of my life. A good part of that's been in tropical countries, and I've learned a lot about that over the years, so I'd like to share a few tips with you. The most important thing we've got to worry about when we're traveling is probably staying hydrated, especially when you're in a tropical region. And that can lead to your first potential problem, making sure that the water you're drinking is clean and healthy for you. So there's a couple of ways to make sure that happens, and one of them does not include just going to the store and buying bottled water, because depending on the country, that bottled water may be contaminated itself. So you got to have a few things up your sleeve to make sure you're 100% safe. What I always do when I travel is I make sure that I have a couple of Aquatabs. Now, it doesn't have to be Aquatabs, it can be whatever brand, but essentially it's chlorine in the water. All that bad stuff that we try to get rid of back home ends up making your water taste a little bit like swimming pool water. You know, there's an iodine version. Look, both of those are gonna make the water taste a little bit yucky, but that's sure a whole lot better than being in the remote jungle somewhere and coming down with something because you've drank some contaminated water. The other thing you can do is just buy something that you know is going to be fresh and legitimate, like a Coca-Cola. I don't have one here, but I've got a Fanta. It's obviously been sealed. It's from Coca-Cola, and you can see that it's pineapple. When you start getting into the clear water, you know, you just never really know. If I buy the water in the store, I'll put one in just to make sure. Or you can take a little flavoring packet with you from home and flavor the water so it kind of masks the chlorine. Number two, of course, very important, what are you going to wear? Well, obviously cotton is the #1 choice, but not for everything. I like to have a pair of pants available to me because on occasion you have to go out somewhere nice and you don't always want to be, you know, tourist guy coming into town wearing shorts everywhere you go. So I carry a pair of polyester pants with me. The nice thing about it is they roll up into just about nothing. And then when you take them out and unfold them and wear them, they look like they're pressed pants. Not something you want to show off back home, but quite practical when you're traveling, okay? Going into the cities, any city, anywhere. And I'm not going to pick on tropical countries alone, but I'm going to say anywhere you go, there's a potential for something wrong, especially if you look like a tourist. They know one thing, you've got a wallet and you've got money. So your objective is to make sure nothing changes in that regard. And one of the ways I do that is to make sure I've got shorts, not these ones, because this is a bad example. This is for the jungle. You can pickpocket these shorts in a flash. These ones are a good example of what I like because they've got zippers on the side here and here, as you can see. And that's one big step between you and the pickpocket or the thief that's going to try and get your stuff. And in fact, that did happen to me a couple of trips ago, but luckily I had everything inside there. They weren't able to get anything out wearing these shorts. Traveling, you're probably going to be taking some cameras, iPhones, laptop, computers, all that stuff, and that means electricity, and that means charger. Of course, you're going to need an adapter, but I take it one step further. Here's my adapter, and this one's just great. I've actually seen this online for just a few dollars. Look at the action there. You can switch it between Britain, France, and Australia, apparently. And then the other side is the plugs we need, whichever one you happen to have. If you're in North America, you know what I'm talking about. Why the extension cord? Because I promise you, wherever that outlet is that you're going to be looking for, and believe me, I've stayed in enough motels and hotels and apart hotels to know that outlet is going to be somewhere a long ways away from where you want all your equipment to be when you're charging it. So we get around that by plugging this long extension cord into here, and we get a bonus out of the deal, because as we all know, these have at least 2 or 3 outlets on the other end, and so we can charge our iPhone, computer, and cameras all at the same time. Tropical countries, moisture means one thing: mosquitoes. And they can be really bad. They can be just a nasty experience, just a lot of itching. So you can of course use mosquito nets. I personally don't like them because it's just one more thing to pack around. I've got a little tube of DEET. Spray that down. One thing about DEET, interesting to know, is you might be tempted to be looking at the percentage, and I've talked to enough people and experienced this myself. You do not need like 100% DEET. You can get away with even 20% DEET because the DEET tends to evaporate pretty quickly anyway, and you'll find yourself applying it a lot more often. If you apply it in the lower concentration, it doesn't smell as bad. Look at there's no way this stuff can be good for you. I'm not a scientist, but there's no way you're going to tell me that DEET is anything but harmful to you. But you have to make a choice. You're either going to use DEET, a mosquito net, or you're going to suffer with a whole lot of mosquito bites because they like white tourists for some reason. I don't know why, but I've, decided in my case I use some kind of a DEET formula, just off works best. So mosquito repellent, good, bring it with you, although that said, in most places, but not everywhere, they have mosquito repellent, so better to take it with you just to be safe. Cup of soup. You find these everywhere, except in the very, very remote places that you may be traveling, sometimes for a couple of days on end. This is light, doesn't take up a whole lot of space. Throw one or two, and you know what? Take a couple of the ones without the bowl in them, so it's just the dry packages. Obviously, they're cheap no matter where you go, so it's not a money issue. They're light, so they'll travel quite easily. You won't exceed your weight limit, put them in. And if you find yourself in a bind, all you need to do is find some hot water, and you know you're never going to get sick eating one of these because you started with boiling water. This is a sealed package, so you're good to go. If you're in a sort of questionable area and you're looking at the meal going, I don't know. So you got 1 or 2 days, depending on how many you carry with you or how long you can stand eating cups of soup. Light's something we take for granted in the West, but we shouldn't when we travel, so a flashlight is obviously very important. That's not a big deal today. Even your iPhone can act as a flashlight if you've got the right app, although it'll take a lot of power and it won't last for very long. It's not a very good flashlight, frankly. I've used this one, which I've actually taken off of my bicycle, and that also happens to be waterproof as well. And what it does, again, I'm saving power outlets. That little thing has a USB on the back, so I can plug it into my laptop. While I'm charging my laptop, bingo, bango, I'm charging two things at once. This is getting charged and my computer's getting charged, both at the same time. What to wear on your feet? Well, the last thing you want to be doing is putting great big hiking boots to climb someplace in the Northwest Territories when you're going to be in a tropical place. Believe me, that's hot and overkill. So it should be something between a running shoe and a sandal. Now I found these, sadly they don't make them anymore, a few pair of Nikes. I like these because they don't have laces on them, one less thing to worry about. They're just a Velcro strap on there. You can tell just by the way I'm holding these and flinging them around, they are light, they breathe, there's virtually nothing to them. Sadly they don't make them, but they make shoes very similar to this. I find these ideal as long as you don't need a lot of support because there's virtually none on the back. But they breathe obviously, and when they need to be washed, dump them in the washer with the rest of your clothes wherever you're traveling. And speaking of that, that's where I'll end this. When it comes to the subject of clothes, when you're traveling, you obviously want to trade off between how much you're prepared to carry and how much you're prepared to wear and wear over again. And you don't want to be wearing the same old clothes day in, day out, especially in a tropical country where your clothes tend to get very sweaty, and in my case covered in DEET and everything else. So what I tend to do is arrive light, keep my suitcase luggage weight down, and as I'm there I'm accumulating t-shirts and all the souvenirs that I'm wearing I'm going to want to take back anyway. So that way you arrive light, you're not carrying very much stuff, and usually as you go you're buying the clothes that you need to wear, and then you got your souvenirs and you've kept your suitcase really light at the same time. I like to carry a few Band-Aids and some antibiotic ointment. In this case it's polysporin. I'm not sure that's available there, but some version of it is. It's certainly not going to be available in any tropical market, so if you've got a sting, a bite, a scratch, whatever, some polysporin and a couple of Band-Aids and you're good to go. Something that you might not always find locally. And that's it for now. Thank you.